Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if you guys don't care. Let's see. Okay, perfect. Can you guys see that? Awesome. So I am Stephanie Moeller, and I am one of Kara Hint's coaches, and I volunteered to be on this call tonight. And I just wanted to share some of the best practices, things that have been working for me. And like I said, it's based off of, I get a lot of questions from other coaches. And so I kind of put this together based on what other questions people ask me. But if you have more questions at the end, then go ahead and feel free to put them in the chat, or we can do like an open-ended question thing at the end. And I apologize. I am at Panera right now because I live in the country and I actually don't have the internet. So I run my entire business off my hotspot from my phone. And so when I have like really important stuff like this, I have to go places to make sure that I can get really strong Wi-Fi. Otherwise, my internet and connection will be kind of like wonky. So here I am at Panera. I hope you guys can hear me. They close at 9 o'clock, so I'm going to do my best to like get it all in, and hopefully they don't kick me out. So I am a wife and a mom of two. I have a boy and a girl, so one of each, Gentry and Wyatt. I'm also, I'll just say, a lower elementary teacher. Next year I will be teaching kindergarten, the same grade that my daughter is going to be going into. And I'm also a mentor teacher, so I work with a lot of our new teachers in our building. I'm also, like all of you, a wellness influencer or a coach. I take a lot of pride in country living and being a country music fan. And some people don't know this about me, but I'm also an ex-Olympic weightlifter and collegiate athlete. So I used to compete nationally across the country. That's actually how I met my husband. So yeah, a lot of people don't know that about me. I always think it's really important to share with people your backstory and how you got started with Beachbody and with coaching, just because that makes your story more relatable to the other people who are listening or to the other people who are learning from you. And so throughout high school, in my college years, throughout high school, I was a 4-sport athlete for 4 years. And then I went on to play college softball. And then from college softball, I went on to do Olympic weightlifting. And so I am someone who has always stayed in shape just through fitness. The crazy part is I never focused on my nutrition all throughout those years. And like, it's hard to think about like, oh, where could have been if I would have focused on nutrition. But that chapter of my life is closed, and now I'm on to something bigger and better, right? And so I also was a strength and conditioning coach for our D1 college that's here in town, for their softball team. And then I did some high school coaching softball as well. And those are things that I gave up when we started talking about having a family, because I was a teacher and I felt like in order to be a good mom, I needed to be at home with our kids during the summer. And so that's something that I sacrificed as a parent. And we do that a lot as parents. We have to make sacrifices, and that's what I wanted to do. Nobody like talked me into staying home for the summer. That's what I wanted to be, was at home with my kids during the summer. After having kids, I had a hard time finding myself after that. Yes, I was a teacher, but like I had been an athlete all throughout my career and always involved with sports and athletics and fitness. And so I really had a hard time finding myself after kids, and I started to bounce around to different things. I took up CrossFit for a little while, but I would do it for like 2 weeks and then quit, and then I talk myself back into it and do it again. We had some really good friends of ours own a CrossFit gym, and so I got to go there for free, and like I still couldn't even like make it work. And so I actually joined a different fitness class. It was a kickboxing class. And I did that for about a year, and I started seeing results, but eventually then I did hit a plateau. And so it wasn't until our family decided to make the move to the country, something that's been like on our dream bucket list. And so when we did that, I started noticing that I was missing classes, and it was just too hard. I couldn't justify driving all the way into town for an hour workout class and then driving 25 minutes back. And like, if you add kids into the mix, it's just like, it's a disaster. So I started Beachbody. Kara had sent me a message probably like a year prior to us moving out to the country. And so I didn't answer her and I didn't reply. So I ghosted her. So all of you that are like, nobody's answering me, I ghosted her. And it wasn't about until a year later that I was like, hey, this is my situation. We just moved to the country. And so she let me know what my options were and everything like that. And I joined as a coach right away because I already had a background in health and fitness. Even though I was just concentrating on my own self-care, I joined as a coach right away. And then I ended up seeing better results from Beachbody than I did from the fitness class that I had previously attended. And before I get into like everything that I'm going to share with you tonight, I just want you to know like where I'm coming from my perception of like how I have been approaching coaching, and like my mentality is everything is figure outable. And I know this is like a hot topic right now, and Rachel Hollis, you hear her say everything's on Google, everything's available to you, which it so is. I'm not one of those coaches that waited for permission. That doesn't mean that I didn't have questions along the way, but if I wanted to do something, I didn't ask, I just did it. And I feel like if I saw something and I liked it, then I tweaked it and I made it my own. I didn't copy and paste. I made it my own and made it fit into my lifestyle and the lifestyle of my challengers. And so I just think that's a really important piece, that not a copy and paste, but if I saw something I liked, I tweaked it and I owned it and I made it my own, and then I implemented it. And then also, like, what was working for me back in January isn't working right now. And so I feel like coaching is just like teaching. I don't know how many teachers are on the call right now, but coaching is just like teaching, that what might work for one group of students the next year is probably not going to work for your next group of students. So coaching is something that is going to be forever evolving and forever changing, and you just have to learn to adapt with those changes, if that makes sense. So when I started taking coaching seriously, the first thing I did was look at my schedule, because I would wake up first and then I would start working my business as I was drinking my pre. And then I would just keep working my business. And then all of a sudden my workout time was over and it was time for me to get my kids up for school and ready to go. And so I was just so into doing business building activities so that I was sacrificing my own self-care. And then that wasn't getting me the results that I wanted. And if you just listen to this week's National Wake Up Call, they preach, I can't remember what their slogan was, but basically their self-care is first. Your self-care is first. And that's something that I wasn't doing. And so I had to restructure my schedule. And obviously it looks different when I'm Mrs. Moeller, a teacher during the school year, versus being at home with my kids in the summer. But I wake up really early, wake up at 4 o'clock. I do my devotional, I drink my pre, and then I work out first. And then after I get my workout in, that's when I hop in the shower really quick. And then most days while my hair is drying, trying to kill like 2 birds with 1 stone, that's when I'll work the business until it's time to finish getting ready and get my kids up for school. So one thing that I had to do, and this is good for you teachers who are going to be entering a new school year, is to map out what you want your mornings to look like. And then also, a lot of my time, I know I do my best work when I am away from my home. And so there are some weekends where I don't get the opportunity to go, but then there are times when my husband is awesome and he's like, hey, I'll take the kids for the afternoon. Why don't you go into town and do your stuff? He calls it your stuff. So There have been a lot of weekends where I take a couple of hours and go work like at a coffee shop or like where I'm at right now, Panera. And I will go and work there, and that's when I get like my best work done. And I just have to remove myself from like the distractions of our house and the chores and like those things like all just running through my mind. And it makes it really hard to concentrate on business building activities when you're thinking of all those other things. So I try to like just compile a list of all of the systems that I use. I use the Beachbody Success Club tracker. It's already made, it's already there for you. It's really good. I wouldn't recreate the wheel. If you have your own tracker you use, that's awesome. But that's what I use, and then that's what I encourage my coaches to use also. The notes section in my phone is just like post after post after post after post. And I try to mix up different things that I'm posting about, but I don't follow a particular posting schedule. But when I think of an idea and I'm like, oh, that would be a really good post, I'll jot down like the quote that I was thinking of or the first couple of lines, the way I want that post to go. And then when I have time to sit down and write it, I'll go back and I'll fill it in. And then when I feel like I have the opportunity or I have the right picture to go with it, that's when I post it. And I feel like not following a posting schedule, it makes me feel my most authentic self that way, posting it when I'm feeling it and posting it when it actually like aligns with what's going on in our life. A lot of people have asked me about cold invites. Do you cold invite? And I tell them that I use lukewarm invites, warm invites. And what I mean by that is I have never just like randomly clicked on someone that I didn't know, wasn't following me, and said, hey, why don't you join me? By lukewarm, I mean people that are watching my stories, people that are commenting on my posts, people that are liking my posts. And I don't feel like I have ever gone like way outside the box. I will say in February when I was going for the Morning Meltdown 100 test group, I went to my friends list and I would pick a letter for the day. So if I picked B, I would go to all of the names that started with the letter B. And I would say to myself, who do I already have a close enough relationship with that I could send them a message right now? And the next day I would pick a different letter and I would do the same thing. And I would send like 75 invites to those people under that letter, or if I did more than one letter within the same day. But I never consider them as cold invites because I only chose the people who I felt like I had a decent enough relationship with that I could reach out to them right then and there. Excuse me. I also use the Google Sheets to track my conversations, and I can't remember whose call it was, but it was someone that Julianne brought on. I think her name's Brittany, maybe. If you know, like you can throw it in the chat. But I watched that call, and so that's the Google Sheet that I use to track my conversations. In the beginning, I would track all conversations. I would track who I sent an invite to, and then it became like super overwhelming, and I had all these people on here that weren't responding to me, and then I didn't know what to do with them. Like if I could say that I'm going to follow up with them, but then they still weren't responding, so they're just like hanging out on my tracker, and I didn't like it. And so what I did was I took all of those people off, and now I only track the people who respond and say, yes, I want more information. And so now my tracker is full of people that have said, yes, they want more information, and that I have sent a canned response to. So like if I ever need to follow up or go back to somebody on that list, they've all been interested like at one point or another. So I feel like that's my like list of gold. And as far as like other people, I'll send invites to, but if they don't respond, then I won't put them on my tracker, but that doesn't mean that I won't invite them again. And so if they continue to watch my stories, then a month later or 2 months later, I'm probably going to send them another message, but I still won't put them on my tracker until they respond to me. Once they do ask for information, then I send them canned responses, and it usually has a PDF that I have created on Canva to go along with it to give them visuals. being a teacher, I know that a lot of people are visual learners. They want to see exactly what they're looking at or exactly what they're going to get into. And so I use PDFs that we create, usually and I share with my team. And then I also track them using Google Streaks. So if I send them a canned response, then I will put them also in my Google Streak as someone who is engaging with me. And then that'll give me another reminder in addition to the tracker that I'm already using. So it's like a double reminder that like nobody's going to slip through the cracks. And then I also use Linktree, and then I have a couple of Google Forms on my Instagram. That's not my number one way that I get people, but it's an option there for people if they want to use that way. I get a lot of questions about inviting to the team, and I use the same language every single time. And so once someone has told me that, yes, they would like to join, they know what flavors, then I say something like, awesome. There are two ways to join. You can either join as a challenger or as part of the team. And I say it's free for the first month to join as part of the team. And then I use the word I to show them that I do it. Then I pay $17 a month after that, but I also get 25% off all products and future purchases, plus cheaper shipping. So in the long run, it saves me money. And then I say something like, no big deal, it's just personal preference. And if they ask questions about it, then I can ask more questions about it. You're not obligated to post anything. You're not obligated to sell anything. It's just personal preference, and you can drop it at any time. And that is the lingo that I use, and that is how people have been joining my team recently. So moving on, once somebody does join me, I always celebrate them. And so what I mean by that is I send them a welcome email. I make a graphic with their own picture on it on WordSwag. I introduce them into the team page as well as my Grit Nation group, which is my ongoing challenge group. And then I always shout them out on my stories. And then I always create a different graphic for my monthly enrollment for the month. Now you can see like Ashley, Haley, Jessica, all these girls that joined me. Some of those girls joined with the challenge pack, and some of those girls might have joined with 3-month bod. It doesn't matter what they joined with, but I always celebrate them and I always put them on here. The people who are watching my stories don't need to know what they joined with. They just need to know that people are joining me. And what's crazy about it is before I started doing this, people would get into my Grit Nation group and then I would introduce somebody and then be like, oh, hey, I didn't know you were into doing this. Like, I'm in here too. It's good to see you. And so people were they were seeing familiar faces within my Grit Nation group. But I'm like, other people who are watching need to see the familiar faces that are going into my Grit Nation group so that they can feel like, oh, well, if Elena's joining, then maybe I can join too. And so rather than waiting to see their friends join when they get in the group, this way they can see who is joining before they even get into the Grit Nation group, if that makes sense. Kim, do I need to look at the chat at all, or is that just keep going? Okay. So I did not have Instagram before I started coaching. And primarily my coaches and customers come from Facebook, but I really like playing the game of Instagram. And I don't know why. But I feel like it's a game and I like it. So I tend not to follow algorithms very well. They're like, oh, you need to post once a day and like this time of day and things like that. And just like I do kind of with my Facebook, I just post organically. And sometimes it is once a day, sometimes it's twice a day, sometimes it's 3 times a day. I usually don't go over 3 times a day. And as long as I have my posts spaced out within a couple of hours, then I think that I'm good. But I feel like the more content that I put out there, the more people will see it and the more they can engage with me. And of course, and this is all information that you guys know, but sometimes it's helpful just to hear it again and hear it from a different voice. But I share more than just fitness related things. So more than just working out and more than just nutrition, more than just transformation pictures. And I hope nobody punches me in the face for saying this, because I know we're taught not to do this. But I personally follow 1 to 2 top coaches just to see what they're doing, not to copy them, but just to see like what they're implementing or what they're doing with their challenge groups, what kind of language they're using, because obviously they're doing something right. And so I don't follow everybody. There's a couple of coaches that resonate with me because they are retired teachers. And so I personally follow 2 coaches like pretty closely, and just like a note-taking kind of watching, if that makes sense. So I'm not telling you to go follow other coaches and copy what they do. I want to make that very clear. I just follow them and make note of what they're doing, and then tweak the things that I know that I can implement like right now. And then I do use different photo edits. I purchased some presets off of Etsy. They are like super cheap, like less than $5, and I got like 21 of them. And then just like in my notes section where I had all my posts planned out, I also have a different notes section with different sets of hashtags. So I have hashtags for like transformation posts. I have hashtags for nutrition. I have hashtags for my dog. I have a set of hashtags for mom life. I have a set of hashtags for country life. And so I just have all these different sets of hashtags that I keep inside of my notes section that you can use. And then I can throw up there when it's relevant to whatever I'm posting about. Another thing about Instagram, since I've started, I don't think I've missed a day. I show up every single day in both my stories and on my posts. Even if I don't feel like it, or even if I don't feel good, I will put something on there and give them something to look forward to. On my stories or things that I post about that are like my tribe, or like nutrition and recipes. And that's something I'll even put a poll on in my stories. What do you want to see more of? Fitness or nutrition? And people put nutrition. So I'll even ask for input. Even I used to have like motivational quotes on my Instagram, and I would put a poll up there like, how many of you like seeing quote, or how many of you like seeing these quotes? And I got good responses. A lot of people wanted to see the quotes, but they weren't getting a lot of engagement. So I'm like, well, that's not really doing anything for my account right now. Even though people like them, it's not helping me grow my Instagram. A lot of times people want to know what books I'm reading or what my morning routine looks like. I get a lot of questions about my gratitude journal in the morning and my devotional. Not right now, but during the school year. Things that I'm doing in the classroom. We have a Frenchie. We are big country music fans. We follow the Nation, which is Granger Smith's like fan base. I share products that I love. My newest one is Brace Face, because I'm 32 years old and I have braces, which is like awesome. But a lot of people talk to me about having braces. Like, it's insane. And then lastly, this is like a funny story. When we were at Summit, they talked about looking at your insights. And so a couple lines down, you can see I say, watch your insights. And so if you click on, like, if you have a business account, which you all should have a business account because you're running a business on Instagram. If you click on the 3 lines up in the top right corner, you can click on insights, and then you can see which one of your posts are doing well. And so it's really kind of funny that when we were at Summit, I'm like, I'm going to go check out how my insights are doing right now. And then I went and clicked, and like the posts that were doing the best, like the top 4 posts, all had my husband's face in it. And I'm sitting there riding in the car, and I'm like, hey guys, like, this is kind of weird. All of my top posts have Dan in it. Like, why is that? And then I would go to like who my audience is, and I figured, well, maybe like since we're country music fan, there was like some guys following me, and it's like, nope, the little pie chart showed that 91% of your audience is female. And so like apparently my audience really likes seeing my husband. Like, I know he's good looking, but like, I guess you can see now you're going to see more of my husband because that's what my audience likes. Like, I don't know. Either they like my husband or they like to see love. So maybe that's more that they like to see, I don't know, a couple of relationship love. So I don't know. I'm just going to roll with it because people like the pictures that my husband are in. So basically what I'm trying to say is keep an eye on your insights and watch that and see what gets the most engagement. And then also on my stories, I use pick play post. And then I know there's other ones out there like Thriller and things like that. And the first time I did it, it took forever. But that's one of the things where I didn't ask for permission. I didn't go ask any questions how to do it. I was just like, I want to make my workout videos more appealing to people who are watching them because right now they're really boring. And so I downloaded or I Googled it first. And then I'm like, one of them says pick play post. That's what I already have on my phone. So that's the one I ended up using. And all I do is I trim my videos up and I speed up the timing to double time. And then I lay some of my music over it. And then that has helped like tremendously with my workout videos being a little bit more engaging. And then I also take advantage of like the polls in the question box where people can drop their email, like the countdown timer to like super weekends, the countdown timer to summit, things like that. And then, like I said, I use the link tree in the surveys, and that's just a way to give people, they need multiple ways to contact you. So some people like to click and engage with polls, and some people like to put their email in, some people like to comment, some people like to click on your link. And so just giving them the option so they really have no excuse for not contacting you. And then I also started doing my own giveaways. And the first couple didn't get like a ton of engagement, but then I started reaching out to people who were local to me. And so the girl that I go to for Road and Fields, when I ordered my next sunless foam tanner stuff, I'm like, hey, would you be interested in doing a giveaway with me? Let's just split the cost of a bottle because they're like $20. It was $10 a person. And do a giveaway. So they would follow me, follow her, and then tag their friends, and boom, you have a giveaway. And so that's just like a super simple way to increase your followers and increase your engagement for people commenting. And then it costs like less than $5 to ship to somebody. It wasn't that big of a deal. Like, or you can pick people who are local to you and you can just deliver it to them, you know? So giveaways is another one to increase your engagement. Also, I know a lot of people like making the story sequences like on Canva and stuff like that, where you type out like what you want to say and put a picture with it, and people can click and read through the story sequence. And I have done that, and that is awesome. And I still use some that I've made in the past, but most recently I've had the best experience with actually just talking about it, like sitting there with my phone out in front of my face, and instead of saying, we have this challenge group coming up, on a story sequence, if you just sit and you talk about it authentically into your stories, I feel like that gets more engagement than using a story sequence. That might not be the case for you, but that's just something that has worked well for me most recently. And that might have not been the case 3 months ago. Like I said, it's forever changing and forever evolving. And so me talking on my phone about joining our team and stuff like that might not be a successful way in 3 months from now. So another thing that I use is 21 Social. And I started using this, and it's not required, and there's other ways to build your Instagram account. This is not the only way. But I knew it was last summer when you're trying to do all the things, and then I was getting ready to go back to school, and I knew that one thing was going to have to give. And so I was on my way to growing my Instagram account, and I know that was probably one thing that was going to drop. So instead of letting it drop, I used the money that I made through Beachbody and then reinvested that into using 21 Social. So it does cost money, but it is a way to help grow your Instagram throughout the day when you're not working on it. So just like you would delegate someone to make your graphics for you, or you would delegate someone to make your PDFs for you. This is just one of those things that I delegate to help grow my Instagram account, if that makes sense. But it's definitely not required. And then my coaches, sometimes they'll say, well, I don't feel like I have a lot of engagement, or I feel like stuck in a rut. Then the first thing I tell them is, you need to add more value to people's lives before they actually join you. They need to see the value in what you're doing and the value in the products. And that might be through like giving them an exercise routine to try. So if you're recording yourself doing the exercises, you can say, do these 3 exercises 3 times through. Just like give them a short little workout, or give them a recipe that they can screenshot on your stories. Give them something before they actually join you to build that trust and to build that relationship. And then lastly, you guys already know, be real and be authentic. And I feel like now I'm making that transition. Last summit was about, when I first started coaching, it was more about my own self-care. And then last summit, I wasn't even an Emerald coach. I was a coach last year at Summit. And so when I left there, my concentration was to build a team and get to Diamond. And now leaving this summit, my focus is helping my coaches build a team and get to Diamond. And so it's kind of cool how you just see everything just keeps growing. But ways that I feel like I have been building a team is talking about the business more. You can't expect to have business builders on your page or business builders on your team if you're not actually talking about the business. And one of the things that I heard at Summit, one of the presenters say, is when you're talking in your stories or you're posting about the coaching opportunity, you need to talk about it like you're talking to your grandma. So if your grandma would be able to understand it, then you're being clear enough about what you're trying to explain. So, and like if you're a teacher, elementary teacher, that should be easy, right? Because you like over explain everything. But something else that I started doing is hosting my own coaching sneak peeks. And I know our uplines, they host and they offer really great sneak peeks. And I have also used those in the past, but it's also not my face. In which if I'm inviting someone to something, I want them to be able to see me. And so I haven't made a huge group or anything like that, but the way I host coaching sneak peeks right now is like a one-on-one coaching info session. So if someone says, yep, I want to do a coaching sneak peek with you, then I host a one-on-one Zoom call with them. And I have a presentation just kind of like this that I made on Canva, and I share my screen with them and I go through and we do a one-on-one call as a coaching sneak peek, and then boom, like it's done. I have done one in the past where I try to get everybody all together on the same Zoom call, and that seems to be a lot more difficult to try to get everybody on the same schedule all at the same time. And so rather than doing that, I switched to just doing like one-on-one coaching sneak peeks, and I think it really makes them feel like valued and wanted also when you have that one-on-one time with them right away from the beginning. And then also in my coaching page, we submit our trackers once a week. So every Wednesday night, my coaches who are trying to build a business, they submit their Beachbody Success Club trackers. Everybody, I just made under the photo albums, everybody has their own album with their picture, their own face, their own picture as like the front of the album. And then every week they snap a picture and they put it inside of their album. And so that's just a way to organize everybody's trackers into their own folders. And I also let them know that it's okay if your tracker, if all the boxes are not checked off of your tracker, because most of my coaches are part-time coaches just like I am. And so it's difficult sometimes to get every single box checked off. But then at least if you are checking off the boxes that you're doing, then you can see what you missed the day before and what you need to focus on the very next day. And then I also put the coaches who are have big goals, like they want to become diamond in a smaller thread. And then I adopted or borrowed some graphics from Morgan, which I was going to do the same thing, but then she was gracious enough to share those with me. But I make just a graphic for each one of those coaches within the thread who is pushing to diamonds. So just their name at the top, and then the 4 circles, and then the 2 for the emeralds on the side. And I can share, I think I posted one before. I posted my husband's in the or coaching collab, but I can do it again. But just showing them the graphic, and then when they add someone, then I get to put a circle on their graphic and then upload it for everybody to see. So it's just a way to kind of keep the momentum going when they start feeling that success. But the biggest thing is, as far as building a team, if you want to build a team, then you have to talk about the team. And that's something that I didn't do before, and I would invite, but I would only invite to like the fitness and the health, nutrition and the challenge groups and things like that. So I've learned to tweak my language to invite to the opportunity and invite to the team, if that makes sense. So from here on out, taking action, inviting is the single most important action you can take to move your business forward, period. What I suggest is picking a number that you know that you can be consistent with, that you can do 7 days a week, whether that number be 3, or that number be 10, or that number be 20. I know from pushing back in February for that group, it was a really good example of people's results are a direct reflection of the heart and hustle they put into it, because like I poured everything into that month, and then I ended up hitting like Success Club 36, which was like my personal best. But then it was also like a burst of intensity for me, which is not always great, because I had a big burst of intensity, and then the next month I was like Success Club 8. So you want to be able to pick a number that you know that you can do consistently, and that might change throughout like your different seasons of life. So like this summer, my numbers was probably going to be a little bit higher than when I go back to school this fall. And that's just the reality of it. As long as I can keep doing it consistently, then I know I'm always moving my business forward. And a lot of people ask me questions about like the language that I use to invite. And my advice to that is invite the way that you want to be invited. So some people are like, oh, make sure that you're doing the peanut butter and jelly method, or make sure that you're liking 5 of their posts and commenting on 3, and then you can invite them, kind of thing. And for me, when people do that to me, I can feel like, oh, they want something, you know what I mean? And that's just my perception and the way I feel. So like, I invite people the way that I would want to be invited. I want people to be like direct and clear and to the point. And so that's just the way that I invite people. And if you're a part-time like me and the majority of my team, or all of my team, then if you can't get to anything else in your business, then you should get to just the inviting. Do the inviting first. And then if you don't get to the other stuff, then you don't get to the other stuff. But at least you got the thing that's going to move your business forward the most, the thing that's going to move the needle the most. At least you got that part done. And then lastly, what has this opportunity done for you, whether that be your fitness, whether that be your overall health, whether that be your confidence, whether it be your relationship with your husband, like it has been for mine. Like, what has this opportunity done for you? And then use that when you're getting ready to sit down to invite, and then share that gift with other people. I'm not saying share that entire story right then and there with that person, but have that in your mind that this is a gift and we are sharing it with other people. And you cannot give up on people so easily if they're still liking and watching your stuff. I know people are like, oh, I got this many no's, which we're doing a go for no challenge right now, like, which is good. But people get really discouraged by hearing too many no's, or people get really discouraged by getting ghosted. And that's can be another reason why you don't track the people who don't respond to you. You only track the people who say yes. And then it's reiterating the positive that's coming out of that. But if you're tracking all of the people that say no, then you're more likely to concentrate on all those people who are saying no also. but you can't give up on those people so easily, because those are the ones that usually come back like 3 or 4 or 6 or even a year, in Kara's case for me, that they come back. And it might not be the right time for them. So when you hear no, I know everybody says it, but that truly does mean like, no, not right now. It's not working out for me right now, for whatever their reason may be. And lastly, it's not your decision if people say yes or no, but it is your job to send the invite to them. And then it's in their hands whether they say yes or no. So that was a lot of information. I'm going to check out the chat, I think, or I'll stop sharing my screen.
Steph, that was so good, and you rocked it. It's all love in the chat for you. I don't think there are any questions, but if there are any questions, go ahead and unmute yourself and ask away. She is an open book, super caring, obviously super smart in what she does, super efficient in what she does, and is so willing to share. So Amara took a ton of notes. People are super excited about your stuff. They think your husband's hot.
I don't know how to stop sharing my screen, so that's why you're still looking.
At the bottom where it said share, just hit the unshare button.
I see new share, but it's at the top.
I can't. No, that's not quite.
It's cool. I'm a rookie. It's okay.
There should be a stop sharing button.
Oh, I see it. Perfect.
There, we see all their fun faces. Who else has questions?
It is dark. Holy cow.
I have a lamp above me that I bought for $6 at Tyson's. Just so you know, if anyone ever needs to brighten their little space, literally, that's what it is. I'll turn it off. It's like a heat lamp. You don't need a Diva light. You can go to Tyson's. Farm Girls Unite. Nobody had any questions, but people should be asking questions because she's amazing. Laramie says, what was the Instagram thing you used to build your profile?
That was 21 Social. So they have their own Instagram account, or you can just like search them on Google and you can find them that way.
Sherry says, how do you get your stories still to go to your Facebook if you have a business account? I'm struggling with that one too, Sherry. It keeps going to my Choose to Rise page.
So I have my Instagram as a business account, but I don't have it connected with my Facebook. And so it takes extra time, but when I usually put more stories on my Instagram than I do on my Facebook, but I kind of pick and choose what I put on my Facebook stories because I have more family that watches that, whereas they don't have Instagram, so I can be like a little bit more like wild, or not wild, I'm not a wild person, but like a little bit more risky on my Instagram account. And I'm also a teacher, so like parents more likely watch my Facebook one, so I kind of pick and choose which stories that I will put on Instagram and which stories I'll put on Facebook. But I will just when I have a video or when I have a story, the ones that I want to use, I'll just save it to my camera roll, and then I'll upload it through Facebook that way. And I'll just download them in order, and then I upload them into Facebook stories.
Mm-hmm. And it's also a setting in Instagram that you can just automatically save anything you put in your stories, so you don't even have to go download them. They're just, although it does fill your camera stream pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Amara says,
I want to be able to monitor what goes on my Facebook story.
Amara says, what's Google Streak?
So you might want to Google that. I'm just kidding. That could be like a whole nother call, but it's just a way to keep track of and organize emails that you're sending to people. And then it also reminds you to follow up with those people. And I probably don't even use it to its fullest potential. I am just like basic Google Streak as you can get. but I know Melanie Mitchell has a good YouTube video about it. I know Julianne's put out a video about it. I know Mariah White has put out a video about it. I don't know where they're at, but I know they're out there.
Yeah, it's basically like a content management system that you get for free in Google. If you have a Gmail account. Google Sheets conversation tracker, is there a template shared in the team page? Yes, I believe there is. It's from Brittany Frost. It's for sure in the coach collab. Let's see if someone can tag you, Natalie. Erica says, do you post the same thing on Insta and Facebook, or do you have more coaching based on one or the other?
As far as posts?
Yeah.
Usually I'll post the same to both. I feel like I monitor my stories more, which goes where, but as far as posting goes, it usually goes to both.
And Eric recreated the Google form, or not the Google form, but the Google Sheet, and put it in Coach Club because he's a Google ninja. Eric's just a spreadsheet ninja, by the way. But if you haven't seen Eric's food prep calendar in Google Sheets, you are missing out in the world and must go find it now. Sometimes I wish you lived like, well, no, sometimes like all the time wish you guys lived next door and you could just cook for me too, Eric. But all right, who else has got questions for Miss Stephanie? Anyone?
Hey Stephanie.
You crushed that.
Yeah, first of all, we're like,
I gotta
whoa.
get my, what's going on? I've got to step up my game. It's so good.
And we're both in disbelief that you did not have internet. Yeah, and then you're all running it off the phone.
No, we tried getting the internet once, but then my hotspot was actually faster than the internet that we got, and we're like, well, that was stupid. So, hashtag country life right there.
Before Eric's question, I just want to acknowledge, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but like, when you look at Steph's Instagram, use it as inspiration, kind of what shows the top coaches. I don't follow a lot of coaches, but man, your brand is nailed down. Like, just like completely, like, you know who you are, you know who you're talking about, or who you're trying to talk to. You know exactly like what I was very blown away by that. So that your brand is you guys, but you have to get crystal clear on what your brand is. And then that's what you share. Like, that's your social media. It's not just fitness, it's other aspects of your life.
Thank you for that.
My question is, like system or habit, or it's not like change the game for you, because
as a newer, like an Emerald coach.
Yeah, as a newer coach.
Last year, what was like that one thing?
Okay, so I had this conversation on the car ride home. So last year at Summit, I was a coach. I had not hit Emerald yet, and I had signed up the October before that. So I was a coach. I was at the coach level from October 2017 until Summit 2018, right? And so after leaving that, I on the car ride home was talking about how it just hit me that I was not too good for this opportunity, and that I was not too good to work out in my own living room. And so that's kind of hard for people to understand, but I came from a position of being like a collegiate softball player and competing Olympic weightlifting for like 3 or 4 years, like traveling the country doing like training for 2 or 3 hours a day. But then when I went to Summit, like it just completely like humbled myself. Like I had this, not that I was too good for this opportunity, but I really had a perception of where I was and like where I was now. And then after seeing other people's like transformation stories, and after seeing how big Beachbody was, and like people were making a living off of this, I didn't know how this opportunity was. And so it really opened my eyes to see that this is something that is like way bigger than me, and it just completely humbled myself. And that's when I was like, okay, now I'm going to go all in. I'm going to give this thing a shot because I am not too good to work out in my own living room and get results. And if I can do it, then other people can do it. And I have a master's in exercise science, and I went to school with a lot of people who are into fitness and exercise. And then, like I said, we have friends that own a very successful gym in town. And so I didn't care what everybody thought about me and like, or their perceptions of me. There was only a select group of people that I was like, I wonder what they're going to think about me. Those other fitness related people that I went to school with and things like that. But then once I went to Beachbody Summit and I saw how big this opportunity was, and that people all over the world now are seeing results and are building businesses, I was like, there's no way in hell that I'm too good for this. You know what I mean? And so that's when I decided that I was going to do it. And then later I went to a wedding that had a lot of those people at it, that I was concerned with their opinions. And like, it was all in my head. They're all like, oh, I think what you're doing is awesome. Like, congratulations, that's so cool. And like, this opportunity now gives me the best of both worlds. Like I said before, I sacrificed as a parent. I wanted to be home in the summer, so I sacrificed coaching in the past for my family. And now I get to have the best of both worlds. I get to be a coach and like serve that passion of mine, but then also be a wife and a mom. It's like, it doesn't really get any better than that. And I don't know, I'll forever be grateful for this.
That's so good. If there's anything I'm hearing, and I'll love to hear from you, that was our thing. Like, Summit was what changed Eric's view on this business. I know Josh had a really good, Meyer had a really good experience at Summit. That was like, you've got to get to Summit first, and then when you start believing in it more, your spouse will, with that consistency. So get to Summit. To never be too good. That is something that is always stuck in my head. Trina is my mentor, and any room she walks into, she takes more notes than anyone else there. And I wish, can you see him? Look at that. It's like butts in the air, like just like loving his bone. Anyway, I can't concentrate. Never be too good for any room, even when you feel like you know it all. I get that a lot on calls. Like, people will get on calls and they're like, I already know this. And anytime I get on a call or I hear someone presenting, it's not necessarily the content I'm always listening to, it's how they're presenting. It's how they put things together. It's certain best practices. We talk about that a lot. Never be too good and always be hungry for growth, no matter what. That's an awesome lesson, Steph. And then lastly, what I've heard is, if people accept this or don't, that doesn't have to get in the way of you building your dream life. And that's something that I've been posting about regularly. It's just really hit us, what our business has done for us. Of grinding for 5 years, people agreed with it or didn't agree with it, but we still built our dream life. And so if they still have opinions about it, I wouldn't trade our life for anything. So that's a really, Steph, I love that those people support you, but not everybody will, you guys, but that shouldn't matter. That shouldn't matter.
Was there any that you would recommend for a new coach? That's something that you did right away, or
I don't, you were cutting in and out, but can someone repeat that question for me or type it? Okay, so any PD book, that's been something I didn't even touch on like at all, is professional development, but it's been a huge game changer for me. One of the first books that I read was You Are a Badass, and I think that was a really good one to start with. And then when I was going for the Morning Meltdown test group, I read the 10X rule. Oh, correction, I didn't read it. I listened to it, and I feel like that was way more impactful to like hear his voice, because he is intense. So I really like the 10X rule if you're looking to, like, a lot of people are talking about this, but if you're looking to level up your business and level up your life, that's one that I would go to for sure.
while there are many teachers on the line that have good break time, we also don't like quiet. So
Also, Panera's closing. So
Panera's closing. Okay, so let's get Panera, gets good Panera out the door. Let's get Steph out the door. That we need to get you a picture. Do you want me to take the picture? Or do you want to take the picture?
yeah, you should take it. You take it.
Okay. I'll take the picture. Let's get Steph home and out the door so she doesn't get locked in Panera overnight. Although there's pretty good bagels, I'm guessing. 3, 2, 1. Yay! All right. I will post that in the team